Well, it's still impressive.
Good morning, President.
I guess I should probably use this as well. If you could please silence your cell phones. And we have Tim Munist. Would you please do our pledge?
In the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you, Tim. Tom Gross, do you have our inspiration?
I do. So this is something I listened to recently from a book some of you probably are familiar with, The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And in it, he quotes a Bengali poet named Rabindranath Tagore. And this is an excerpt from the poem. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. Let us pray that we may all experience joy today in the service to others. Amen.
Great, thank you. Now, I did not have that anyone was doing a Rotary Minute. Is that correct? Because Kent has decided to step up and give one.
Well, for those of you that have been around for a while. There he is. Mark Garfinkel was our Sergeant at Arms at one time, and he used to do presidential minutes, or presidential trivia, excuse me. So our Rotary Minute today is to flash back to those days, and we're going to give you a question. The rules are, you must raise your hand and be called on. Don't shout it out, just like Geeks Who Drink. And the other rule is put your phones and your iPads away. Can't cheat. Now, I know I'm probably going to call on Mark with this, but here's your question. Who was the United States president who signed the bill that made Colorado a state? Yeah, we all know the year. Who was the president? Do we have somebody? Oh, Rob.
U.S. Grant.
You are correct, sir. It was Ulysses S. Grant, and one of the last acts as president. It was his last year in office, and August 1st is the date. August 1st, 1876, Colorado became a state. So there's your Rotary Minute.
All right.
Thank you. We have a business minute. Karen?
All right, so my business minute today isn't about the job that I get paid for. It's the job that I don't get paid for, which is CASA. Just wanted to give you a little bit of history of CASA, so I'll just kind of read this information. The CASA program began with a family court judge in Seattle in 1977. The judge, dissatisfied by the way the system worked when it came to the best interests of children, requested that a group of community volunteers called Court-Appointed Special Advocates, or CASAs, be recruited to train to provide children with a voice in court. The success of this pilot program quickly garnered national attention, and in 1982 led to the formation of the National Court-Appointed Special Advocate Association, whose goal was to extend the reach of the CASA program into every state in the nation. By 1984, the National CASA Association had received financial support from several significant sources. On April 22, 1985, President Ronald Reagan presented the National CASA Association with the President's Volunteer Action Award for outstanding volunteer contribution demonstrating accomplishment through voluntary action. National CASA also received support from the Kappa Alpha Theta Foundation since 1989. In August of 1989, the American Bar Association, the country's largest professional organization of attorneys, officially endorsed the use of CASA volunteers to work with attorneys to speak for the abused and neglected children. In July of 1990, the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges named CASA Outstanding Volunteer Program. Also in 1990, the U.S. Congress authorized the expansion of CASA with the passage of the Victim of Child Abuse Act of 1990. In July of 1991, the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, U.S. Department of Justice, named CASA an exemplary program in juvenile delinquency prevention. In 1992, Congress initiated funding of a grants program to expand CASA representation of abused and neglected children. In 1996, Colorado Senate Bill 9630 was signed into law. This legislation, now part of Colorado Children's Code, includes the following: a description of the role of a CASA volunteer, authorization of CASA volunteers and agencies to work in various types of cases, authorization for judicial districts to set up CASA programs, and the mandate for a cooperative relation between CASA volunteers and the guardian ad litem attorney. Colorado was the 33rd state to pass such legislation. So Advocates for Children is the organization that our club supports, and they represent the 18th Judicial District. And they started in 1985. Ann Ogg and the Junior League of Denver conceived of a 3-year project that would recruit and train CASA volunteers to work with the guardian ad litem in Arapahoe County. The Junior League of Denver recruited the first board of directors to oversee the project. They also offered funding and technical assistance in marketing, public relations, and promotional materials, and they helped conduct the first training class of volunteers. In 1989, 2 part-time staff members were brought on board to handle volunteer training in management, fundraising, and public relations. The first full-time executive director was hired in 1991. In 1988, the organization's name was changed to Arapahoe Advocates of Children. In 2000, the name changed simply to Advocates for Children because they started handling both Arapahoe County, Douglas, Elbert, and Lincoln counties as well. What began as a small 503c nonprofit organization with 1 part-time employee has now grown into a thriving organization with a staff of over 20. The staff oversees the efforts of roughly 300 volunteers each year. These 300 volunteers serve over 800 children annually, contributing a total of more than 25,000 volunteer hours to the community. So Advocate for Children has been working with children in the community for over 30 years. Just also want to mention that coming up on October 5th is the Red Wagon Ball, which is the biggest fundraiser for Advocates for Children. And we sponsor a couple of tables, and I think those seats are spoken for. But if you're interested in going, just let me know, and I can give you some information.
Thank you, Karen. And as many of you know, we do a lot with Advocates for Children in CASA. It's something that is really dear to our hearts. Also, our satellite club, probably half of the people in our satellite club work at CASA, whether it's Denver CASA or Advocates for Children. So it's another reason why we're really highly involved, both monetarily and voluntarily. Hey, that even rhymed. So thank you, Karen, for that. And I want to thank everyone who makes this meeting possible, because there's no way that myself or just 1 or 2 people could put this together. So thank you, Paul Hariuchi, for setting up. Rob, you're taking down. Thank you for that. Cheryl, thank you for greeting me. I appreciate it. And everyone, hopefully you felt welcome. Of course, Tom, with your inspiration, and Tim, thank you for the pledge. I know we have a lot of visitors today, which is excellent. We had a lot last week, and it's so fun to have you guys here to see a little bit about Rotary, what we do, but also about the programs that we support, like Kids Around the World, which we're celebrating today and hearing about today. I want to introduce, we have at least 1 visiting Rotarian who just kind of snuck in. Her name's Tracy Impoli, is that correct? Impolite. I was so close. Did you want to say anything, like what club you're from, anything like that? Or?
Yeah, I just microphone.
Oh, you have a microphone?
I just recently moved here from Austin, Texas,
Oh,
and I've been
great.
in Rotary since 2009.
Oh, perfect.
So,
Well, welcome, Tracy. Well, Trip will give you a membership form, I'm sure, for a transfer. And we have a lot of guests. Cheryl, do you want to go ahead and start your guests, and then if there's any other guests other than Cheryl's, we can go from there.
Well, I met some of my new guests this weekend, but I'll start over here. Pat Cottrell is standing in for her husband, Greg.
She's more like Rotary family, so, you know.
But it was through Pat that I met 3 people that are here today. And we have Sue and Kevin that in their 50s, they went to Zimbabwe and saw the need. They went on a business trip and they saw the need for children needing parents because their parents had died of HIV. And they started an orphanage literally out of the northeast corner of Zimbabwe. They have 115 kids. They've been there for 21 years. And their story is utterly amazing. And they're here, I think, because I'd like to see them get a playground, because they don't have a playground. They built a playground, and no sooner had they completed it out of wood, and lightning struck it and it burned up. So they don't have a playground for these 115 children. Then I have Mike Watson here, and I met Mike at the same party. And Mike has spent 12 years in Guatemala and has come back to the States because he has seen such a need for what I call the black gold, which is water, and the need for water purification. And he is building water purification systems in his garage. And he has a system that he showed us called a black box about the size of 2 briefcases that filters and backwashes water in 600 gallons an hour. Whoa. And he's tested this in the murky waters and very polluted waters down in Guatemala. And it's come out over 99% purified potable water. So I stuck him between the 2 water guys. And then I have Tom Howitt here, and I met Tom in a very unusual situation. He came to an open house of mine, and I asked his wife, I said, where are you from? And she says, oh, we're from Denver. And I said, no. I said, can I guess where you're from? And Tom turned around and he says, yeah, I'll take you on, Cheryl. And I said, you're from Beirut, Lebanon. His jaw dropped. No way. And he has been an astrophysicist at DU, and while we were talking, he says, well, how did you know I was from Lebanon? I said, well, the accent, and I said, I lived there. And he said, well, when were you there last? I said, last October. And I described why I went, and he says, my sister is the headmaster of the Jesuit elementary school in Zahli, and she has no playground for her Syrian refugee children. So that is why Tom is here. Jerry is here, Jerry McClellan, because I wanted him to hear about Rotary. I wanted him to know why I'm so passionately involved and very, in this group, and just love giving to, my time. But Jerry's also here to pick Taylor's brain, and I will introduce Taylor a few minutes later because he is our guest speaker. Thank you.
So apparently playgrounds brings us together. Everyone wants to play, right?
We're going outside.
Do we have any other guests that haven't been introduced? No? Well, thank you everyone who's here, who's new. I hope we inspire you for the things that we do in our local community and abroad. But before we get into any business, we of course have to celebrate, because we love to celebrate our people. We have Brad Butzel. His birthday is the 19th, and he's not here. But we'll still celebrate him. So if you see him or in contact with him, please wish him a happy birthday. We also have Randy's wife Nora's birthday is also on the 19th, so we also like to celebrate the spouses and partners of our Rotary members, because they are usually the backup for all the things that we do. So we thank them. Now we have club business, and of course in no particular order. Okay, so no importance or whatnot. Ken, did you want to say anything about our Christmas tree project coming up and et cetera?
Well, first of all, we did gather 586 pair of underwear that will be delivered to IFCS. A couple of those were combo packs. It had some socks in them as well. So the recipients are going to love that stuff. Anyway, we're going to have a Christmas tree giveaway committee meeting today after our meeting. We have tentatively scheduled the giveaway for Sunday, December 8th at the Arapahoe County Library District Administration Building. And then the day before, the 7th in the morning, we will be putting the packages together. So far, everybody's on board who was on board last year. So we're looking forward to another successful event, giving away 100 Christmas trees to families in need, including decorations, lights, and Christmas tree stands. So we'll have our first meeting today after our meeting here today. Any new members who were not in the club last year are welcome to join our committee.
Great, thank you, Ken. So as many of you know, but our guests don't know, we just had several people go to Puerto Rico in order to assemble water filters. And I want to go ahead and bring that team up, and whoever wants to speak. They just came in yesterday, and so we're really excited to hear an update about what happened.
Tell me, what did you record? No. It feels like it. Go ahead, sir.
Well, we just got back was it yesterday? I was going to say 2 days ago, but it was really yesterday. It was a 8 to 9 day extravaganza, and we built 1,200 filters. When we started, there were 20 pallets of buckets. And we were very fortunate. First of all, our team here, I felt very fortunate to have you guys. And also, we had a ground team in Puerto Rico that was superb. Julio Rivera is one of those people. He's not a Rotarian, but he spent, I would say, over 100 hours on this project, and he's still going. There's 5 sessions this week where he'll be training recipients on how to maintain the filter, and he is now going to be running the Puerto Rico Filter Company. So he'll be our sustainability piece of the project. So when people need new parts, he'll be there to supply them. So it's quite a project.
From your, Don, did you want to say anything? No, go ahead. I just want you to note in your program, at the bottom picture, you will see what it looked like to be in what's called a chat room. And the people that come in who are recipients have to sign up for their filter. And when they do, they go through Julio, who, just to give you an idea, is kind of like an Elton John on steroids. It's the only way I can think of him. And he's absolutely wonderful. But I just wanted to share real quick, you know, there are things that I will always remember about this trip, and I'll cherish. But there happened to be one lady who came up, and we were kind of rotating what we did as far as giving filters out. And I was given a filter. And here was this lady, and she was surrounded by 3 other women. And they were all comforting her. I mean, they were literally, you know, like this, and patting her on the back. This lady was sobbing. And I don't mean just crying. She couldn't even talk. And so finally, I think it was John who said, well, go up to her and give her a filter, because she could not, she was standing, you guys, about this far away, and she could not even come to get a filter. So I walked up to her and I realized this woman is overwhelmed. And so all I did was set the filter down, and I reached out and I hugged her. And I have to say, she would not let go of me. The power of a hug. We did not know the same language. it didn't matter. These guys are outstanding. They found a need. The need was met. And this lady, though she couldn't say a word of English, it didn't matter. We bonded because we gave her life back. She had been through Hurricane Maria, and nobody had reached out to her. So she doesn't know any of us. She knows that we're Rotarians, but you know what? She knows that somebody cared enough to give her life. And it's because of these two guys. I have never seen two harder workers than these guys. And the number of hours, the countless number of hours that none of us will ever know in creating a project like this is amazing.
All these people did a great job. I'd also like to thank my wife who went with us also for the time she put in. So this poor lady, very limited income, having to buy bottled water for the last 2 years, and now she's so grateful to have a water filter where she doesn't have to buy bottled water. So that's what it's all about.
So there's about 3.4 people per household. We built 1,200, so that's about 4,000 people. And Mocha is about 40,000 in population, so about 10% of their city we've been able to supply fresh water for, which is really cool. So we did bring back a travel gift. We didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of things. But there was a little market there, and so there was a handmade wooden mortar and pestle there. So we'll put that up for auction at the holiday party. Right.
And to go along with that, I just had to get this. And it's handmade, it's lapis, and it's some of the wood that's down there, a little bit of tiger eye in there. It's a beautiful handmade bracelet. And that will go in.
And I want to thank the club for all your support. I want to thank those who contributed to our travel. Thanks so much for that. It was very meaningful to know that the club was behind us on this.
I'd just like to add one more quick thing. If each of us would just put it in our brain to go out there and see a need and meet that need and give somebody a hug, I would hope that two people you could start with are these two gentlemen.
Sometime in the next couple of months, we'll be putting together a 5-minute PowerPoint for you guys to see some of the other pictures.
Well, I know that this project has been something that's been kind of brewing through different iterations of the water filter, et cetera, over the last few years. And it's, I've been in this club for 3 years as of August. And so it was one of the projects that I've seen start from an idea all the way to fruition. And that's the beauty of Rotary, is that if you have a passion, you can make a difference. And it doesn't matter what your passion is, because as you can see, we have playgrounds coming forth. And so we love ideas, and it's a place where you can really, truly hone in on your passion and make a difference. So thank you both, John and Mark, for bringing that passion here and for sharing that with us. And we're glad that we could be support to you guys. And for those that went, Deb and Ann, thank you also for taking your time. We really appreciate it, and for being ambassadors of our club. So thank you.
Don't sell yourself short. You pulled the trigger.
And David? All right, so John McCarty, do you have an update?
Yeah, this is difficult after the successes of Water Rico, but you've heard from John and now you're going to hear from John and John and John. I attended the Engineers Without Borders monthly meeting last week to discuss the village of Annisbury in Madagascar, where we installed 150 bucket filters back in June with John Holtzman on the team traveling with Engineers Without Borders. I'm sad to report that Engineers Without Borders is canceling their project in Madagascar. They are required to have an in-country NGO, and their in-country NGO, some of you will recall we had a presentation from Hope for Madagascar, a couple, native Madagascar couple from Boulder who started this nonprofit. Unfortunately, they are separating or divorcing. The husband, George, who traveled with John back in June, is no longer going to be part of Hope for Madagascar, and without his ability to help out in country, it just does not appear to be, Engineers Without Borders can't continue, and I don't think that we can continue to work in that village without the support of Engineers Without Borders. So I visited with the board of directors last week, and we have decided that we will, we've done as much as we could. We've gotten clean water to the villagers. We have some people in the country who will check in every once in a while and try and see if they're being used correctly, but we'll try and find another project someplace else.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but a reality in this business that sometimes when you execute a project, it doesn't always work out, and the partners sometimes disintegrate. But we hope that Madagascar continues to receive help from other agencies that are more equipped with their particular situation. So, Anne, do you have an update on Meals on Wheels?
I do. And speaking of a dream, I did not have a dream on Meals on Wheels, but we brought in Diana, 8 years ago? Where's Vern? Anyway, and we persist with that. I'm always looking for people to sign up for Meals on Wheels. It's a fun thing to do. It only takes about 3 hours on a Friday. And right now, I just sent out my mid-month invitation for October. And I went to Kathy, and she said, I've signed up. And I went to Doug, and he says he's signed up. So we're making progress. But I am a little concerned because the 4th of October is not signed up, and that's in 2 weeks. So if you're part of my team, please look at that. And if you want to be part of my team, give me talk to me.
Can you explain Meals on Wheels for our guests?
Sure. Meals on Wheels is a program that's been going for a long time, and they're about to lose, they've lost their location, but they've gained actually a better location in an old restaurant, which is perfect because they needed a kitchen. And they have been servicing the Littleton southwest area of our area for a number, I don't know the number of years. It's been quite some time. Very successfully, and it keeps growing, and that's wonderful too. It's for shut-ins. It's for the elderly who aren't necessarily shut-ins. We don't always see our clients, but it's good to be able to get out, see people, and get take care of their nutritional needs for lunch. So I'm always looking for team members. Give me a call, or don't give me a call, talk to me.
Anne,
yes.
John and I will do the October 4th.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Anne, for that update. So now what I want to do is go ahead and bring Taylor up. We'll have you speak a little later, but we want to present something to you and kids around the world. Cheryl, do you want to come up as well?
Mark needs to come.
And Mark, yes, because he was vital in our receipt of this district grant. So Mark Garfinkel, will you come up? So the Centennial Foundation, Rotary Foundation would like to present to you $11,000 to kids around the world for all that you do and for this project in Lebanon that you and Cheryl are doing jointly.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you.
Are you getting a reflection?
Yeah.
Does that double it to 22? So, and I think your check is in the mail, right? It's a big envelope, right?
Sign the back.
Well, we are really excited about kids around the world and the project that Cheryl is doing there. So we'll be hearing more about kids around the world in a little bit. In the meantime, we do what we call travel gifts. So for our guests, our travel gifts are where our Rotarians go out and they travel. When they travel, they pick up something that they think is interesting, unique, beneficial, or just beautiful. They bring it back to our club, and then what we do is we auction them off at one of our holiday auctions. And then that money goes into our foundation to support projects like Water Rico and Kids Around the World. So does anyone have any travel gifts? I know we had some from our Water Rico team. Does anyone have any other travel gifts? Okay, well, you guys need to be going out and buying things, okay? Come on. We need some inventory here. We have Happy Bucks. So Happy Bucks is an opportunity to give a little bit of money to say what you're happy for. Guests are not obligated to do this. If you want to, you can.
Not obligated, but encouraged.
Encouraged, all right. So John Barry, will you please go ahead and do Happy Bucks for us?
My lovely wife has a fistful.
So I have 6 because I had a wonderful weekend. I had to write them all down so I wouldn't forget. So the weekend started on Thursday night. So if you remember, Lucio, who was our Rotary exchange student a couple years ago from Italy, was at our meeting last week. My family went to dinner with his family on Thursday night, and we had a fabulous time, and we miss him again already. So we're looking forward to maybe going to Italy and visiting him there. So that was what started the weekend. Then on Friday night, I went to a concert with my son and his girlfriend, and we had a lot of fun. And then on Saturday, the 2 little boys from my original first CASA case, who I'm not their CASA anymore, I'm just their friend. They're my little buddies. I still see them periodically. We went to Boondocks and bought the Unlimited Fun Pass, and we had a day of unlimited fun together. I even did the ropes course with them, which is way up high and doing all kinds of fun stuff. We had a great time. Then on Sunday, John and my son Jared and his girlfriend and I went to our last Rockies game of the season, and they won. Then we got to see the Broncos lose, but that's not a happy buck. But then I get home Sunday night, and my NASCAR driver, Martin Truex Jr., he won the first playoff race, so that puts him into the next round of the playoffs automatically. So I'm telling you, great weekend. And then to top it all off, my son Jared, who's a pilot, he got an offer from Mesa Airlines, and so they're going to pay for him to get his multi-engine rating. And then once he gets his 1,500 hours, he's got over 1,000 hours right now, he will start flying for them. He'll train and fly for them. So it was, like I tell you, it was an awesome weekend.
Mr. Gross.
Okay, I have 5, which is not enough for all our guests, but it's great to have all the guests here, so welcome. And second, for Water Rico, it's really a privilege to be part of a club that has an impact like that. So congratulations to everybody who made that happen.
Thank you. Scott.
I have a happy buck looking forward to being happy. So a friendly reminder, this upcoming Saturday, we have a social event planned. It's the Oktoberfest celebration at the Highlands Ranch Town Center at 3:30. A little incentive, you get to meet my baby, who's very cute. So anyway, you should all come. It'll be a lot of fun. like mom. Yes.
John.
Thank you for your inspiring sharing about CASA. I really appreciated that. And the other, occasionally one gets inspiration. And sometime in the last week, I was inspired with the focus for my next book, and I'm grateful.
Very nice. We look forward to that. It's you, Rotary Gnome.
I'm just happy that I don't have to get up this morning and go and make more filters. We spent 7 days from basically 9:30 in the morning to about 6 to 7 at night building water filters, and it's so nice not to have to do anymore.
What did you do? Did you run the drill, or were you?
We traded off and everything.
Did you?
When everybody ran out of strength to do whatever they were doing, you would switch so you could wreck the other hand.
Let me see the calluses. Oh yeah, he earned that. Dr. Mark.
Well, this is for our team that went out there, and for all our guests today. And we forgot to mention something while we were there. I call it the Deborah Jessup idea. The next part of the project will be for us to be doing a good part of it in Denver, and then ship it to Puerto Rico, and for them to do the finishing part. So we're changing it up a little bit for future projects. So we're excited about that.
Andres.
I also have 5 for all of our guests. Thank you for being here. It's really nice to have you with us. For the Water Rico, thank you guys. Really, really awesome project. Cheryl, you're a rock star. And I just want to make sure that everybody realizes this, because sometimes it's easy to lose sight of it. It's really cool to be sitting here on Tuesday morning in Centennial, Colorado, thinking about changing the lives of people that are thousands of miles away. And the coolest part is that there's 1,000 clubs all around the world with about 1 million people doing the same thing we're doing today here. So that's pretty cool, and very happy to be part of that.
2 happy bucks, one for the Water Rico work just finished, and the other for the Water Rico work ahead.
Oh, a little more from Dr. Mark.
This is also for Cheryl, and I've started to do okay with writing grants. So we still have this year the ability to do a community grant for $3,000, so that's a $6,000 project, and a global grant this year. And our satellite club has the ability to do another $6,000 project. So if anyone has any ideas in regards to those, I'll be happy to help them write the grant.
Good morning, everybody. I have a happy buck because Sunday night at our home was amazing. Greg and I have been to Zimbabwe. We've known the Fries for a number of years. In addition to an orphanage for over 100 kids, they run a school. They have kids that have gone through their school that are now in college in the U.S. And if you know anything about Zimbabwean education, that is phenomenal, because the typical high schooler coming out of the public schools is the equivalent of a third grade education. But the school that they run has kids going to our colleges. They also have a large farm. They feed a number of people, not just the community that they have with their orphans and their workers, but they feed a lot of people in northeastern Zimbabwe, and they have a health clinic that is a magnet. So it's a wonderful operation. So anyway, they were at our home sharing about what they do, meeting with some of their sponsors, and Mike Watkins, that you'll maybe get to talk to, has water filters that he has come up with, kind of along, the same water filter idea. He's shipping a bunch off to Kenya. And so it was cool to connect that. And then Cheryl with playgrounds and around the world, and you heard how they had a fire at Eden Village at their community. Mm-hmm. So isn't it just cool how everything orchestrates and people make connections? And they work with Rotary clubs in Zimbabwe, which Greg had a chance to present at a couple of Rotary clubs. And it's just right. Like somebody said, how cool is it that we're all here and service-minded?
Awesome. I think you would look very good with a rotary pin on your lapel. Just saying. And her wallet opens up easier than Greg's, too. Ms. West.
This is for Water Rico. I was there for half the week, and it was very interesting, but I never got a chance to shop so that I could bring something back.
Mr. McCarty.
I have three. We were in Fargo last week for my granddaughter's 8th birthday, and my wife's birthday is coming up Sunday. I have not forgotten. And to our guests, particularly the fries at the table, welcome.
Mr. Eunice.
On everybody's table is this list, and the idea here is that you may know an organization or you may be in charge of an organization that could help us sponsor the Thanks and Giving fundraiser right before Thanksgiving in November. So take a look at that. If you can think of somebody or know somebody or your organization can help, please sign up. Thank you. Oh, gee.
Good job,
I should have written them down. Deb and Diana made an initial contact with Navy Federal Credit Union for sponsorship, and they had some specific questions. And so I need your help. Would you please raise your hand if you're a club member and are a veteran? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Was there anyone over here? So that's 7, I think. 8. Okay, if you are 8, 9. Okay, if you are a spouse or have a child or relative in the military or a veteran of the military, but different than the ones who held up their hands last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 10. Okay, good. We have to give some specific data to Navy Federal Credit Union, so that will help. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have 5. 1 is for all of our guests. Thank you for coming. I have 2 for the Water Rico project. Couldn't be prouder of those people. And I have 2, I guess, left over. I didn't major in math. I'm just an engineer. I actually was able to hire another person 2 weeks ago. So it's lasted 2 weeks, and the prognosis looks good.
Mr. Ernest. I'm so ashamed. Princess Y.
I'm just happy for the success of the Water Rico project. Glad that the team made it there and back safely, so congratulations.
Mr. Hope?
Just $1 to the Water Rico team. What a great job.
Roxy.
I have.
I can't top
Okay. At least I'm here. You can't talk about me that I'm not here while I'm not here. Okay. First $1 is for our speaker and our guests. Looking forward to hearing more about kids around the world. I helped with the playground in Mexico, so I'm really excited to hear some more about them. The second one is for Water Rico. Again, so proud of all of you and this project. I know how much you've put into it. And the third one is I also got to connect with Lucho again after last week's meeting. We had lunch, took him to lunch on Friday, and it was so great to meet his family. He has a wonderful family, and amazing how much you can understand and talk to somebody even though you don't speak the same language.
And then the fourth one is for the Broncos. Okay, I know they lost, but it was exciting in the end. And if they play that way like a whole game, I think we have a future. And I thought Joe Flacco looked pretty good. I kind of like him, and he's really cute. Just so you know, at one time he was voted like most attractive quarterback in the NFL. I knew you all wanted to know that.
Gordon. I'm really not all here. if she's here, I'm a musician for gosh sakes. Anyway, I want to echo all the sentiments about our Water Rico team and how successful they were, and it's good to have you back safe and sound.
Dabo, you got a fistful. Is that a battle scar from Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Did Peterson do that to you?
Pinch you?
There are some things that you just stated. I'm giving a happy 20. I came in on Ann left, and I came in, and I'm amazed I even got there and got back in one piece. But my 20 is for John and Mark, two of the most outstanding gentlemen that I have ever met. And what they did down there was truly changed people's lives, including mine. You know, what stays in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, what stays in Puerto Rico really stays in Puerto Rico.
Just wait until you really get to know us.
Yeah. Oh man, do I have something to wait for? No, I've been very fortunate to have been able to have the time to go experience something like that, to experience what I've experienced with Gordon in Guitars for the Troops, and I can tell you that the most satisfaction, if you have never done this, comes with giving a gift. And whatever the need is, I think there's needs at home. I think there's needs around the world. It's not just where a tragedy strikes that we need to reach out and look at. So I hope we all remember that being a Rotarian is very, very special.
Good job. I knew that Cheryl would have a fistful.
I have 10, and it's broken out to, first of all, to Pat, thank you so much for hosting the party. So I got to meet 3 wonderful friends of yours and that are here with me today. And for the remaining of the guests that came with me, thank you for visiting. And then for the Water Rico project, so glad you had an awesome impact on the lives of people in Mocha. That's just great. And then thank you to the club for your generous supports of my trip. I leave in, I think it's 26 days. Who's counting?
Who's counting?
For Lebanon. And thank you so much for your generous support to enable me to be able to go and for the playground to be built. Thank you.
Ms. Smith.
I have 60 happy dollars today. It's for all our wonderful guests in our projects, but I have to admit also, though it's not the bulletin, it's my birthday this week.
What? Oh. Well, we need to correct that. Good to know.
I think for $60 we probably ought to sing to her, you guys. What do you think? Ready?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kathy. Happy birthday to you.
We ought to give her 50.
Oh man, don't give up your day jobs.
So the $20 for birthday and the other 40? Yes. Mary Alice.
I have 5 for another project that we are involved in. And that was, if you remember at the end of January, Joanne Cohen came to speak to us about traumatic brain injury. And Charlie and I went to their Survivor City series, which was on Saturday. And it was because we, as a club, sponsored them for $1,000 for this is one of the series that they put on. And I have to tell you, it was one of the more moving experiences of my life to be there. There were people with all extremes of brain injury present. And the facilitator had come up with 17 different areas she wanted to address during this 2-hour conference. And the people there were so engaged and so in need of information and help that she got through 3 of those questions. That's how much participation there was and how many questions and problems that they were having that they needed answered. And there was a team of 4 psychotherapists that were there, and they each gave information on kind of a different area of traumatic brain injury. But they all participated then in the question and answer. And even the other people that had brain injuries or their caregivers were giving information to help each other. It was just an amazing experience. And Roxy brought the speaker in for that particular presentation to us. And I definitely think it's worth helping him again. So thanks, Roxy, and thank you.
Awesome. Rob.
So I have 2 happy bucks for the Water Rico project. That's just awesome. And the second, for kids around the world, I had the opportunity to work on a couple of playgrounds, one in Kenya and one in Honduras, and it just makes such a huge difference with the kids. They just love it. So can't wait to hear your presentation today. I guess you probably got a volunteer here now, huh?
Mayor?
Your specialty is home brew.
Yeah.
I have 2. It's one is for all the projects that we do, but the other one is for Ann West. Sometimes we overlook the projects that we do on a weekly basis, and we need to remember the impact something like Meals on Wheels has for this community and the community that surrounds us. That folks that couldn't get food or are shut-ins, they get to see somebody, they get to talk to somebody and get some food. My mother-in-law had that in Stafford on her final year, and it was one of the most amazing things that she always was up the day that the folks from Meals on Wheels showed up. So we need to remember what we do on a daily basis and a weekly basis here that has an impact on the folks in this area.
Vern.
So on a light note, there's $2, one for each of my grandkids, who both have birthdays within 10 days of each other this month. I'm happy, number one, that I survived the 6-year-old party at Skate City. And I'm happy that I think I'm going to survive the upcoming 8-year-old party at Boondocks.
Or maybe not.
Tracy. Here's a couple dollars for your Happy Fund. And I'm just happy to be in a place where it's not 102 degrees for the 64th day in a row. And I don't think I've laughed this much on a Tuesday morning in a long time. So thank you.
Thank you. Tripster.
I have $1. I want to welcome my good, dear, close personal friend, Tracy Ippolite from Austin. Super happy that she could be here today. And I think, and I may be hazy on the facts, but I'm pretty sure she left Austin just to come to the Centennial Rotary.
That's right.
So,
Of course.
so at least be nice to her till we get her application. Thank you.
And Tracy, did Tripp mention that he's in charge of membership for the club? If he hadn't mentioned that, I'll go ahead and do that. Madam President?
So I have 5.
Oh, Doug, sorry. Let me get.
Let's get Doug. Don't forget Doug.
I have 2. One for our Water Rico team. I think it's just amazing that they would give of themselves to do that, to help people they don't even really know. And the other one is for our guests. It's good to have you all with us, and I hope that you'll come back.
Is that a lure there on the table?
Yeah, thank you, and I'm happy to be part of, to meet you all in this nice club, and happy to see Cheryl very active, and now I know why I call her, always go to her voicemail.
That is so true.
Madam President.
So I have 5. Of course, for our Water Rico team, thank you for doing that. Another one for all of our guests. You are so welcome here. We hope you come back. Hope you are enjoying your time, and that I'm sure you'll get so much from our speaker. 3 for our speaker. I'm really looking forward to it. And 4, of course, is for one of our lovely Rotary members who sometimes gets noted, but Scott DeWitt, I wanted to say thank you. So some of you may know, most of you don't, but my husband Nana is 36, and for 2 years he's had really bad tinnitus. And to the point where he kept saying he couldn't hear me, and I just didn't believe him. But thanks to Scott and his knowledge and everything, and Nana was so happy. I almost started crying because he was able to figure out what the problem was, and now there's almost no tinnitus. Scott is very knowledgeable, and it's a shout out to him because not only is he kind and he has just a great heart, but he knows his stuff. And so, that's a good combination for an audiologist. So, when we thought we were going to have to get hearing aids or, something else, and over the last couple of weeks, it's just been dying down, and it's just been such for us, a miracle, even though it was something simple. But, it was just really good to have Scott and to be part of that. So thank you, Scott. And then, and of course, Nana did give him a really good review too. So, and then, so on this weekend, Nana and I went to Black Hawk, and Nana has never been to a casino in America before. For those who don't know, my husband's from Ghana, and so we were really excited when we won $30, but the kicker was that we were so excited we had a group of people around us because we were like, yes, we won 50 cents! We were really excited, so we had a great time. A lot of you know that I've had a lot going on over the last year, and so we had decided just to leave everything and go somewhere and do something because we hadn't done anything since our wedding. So it was really fun, had a great time. So now it's back to business as usual. But so with that, for what we've all been waiting for, which is Taylor. Cheryl, do you want to introduce our guest speaker?
I'd be delighted to. Excuse me, Charlie. Thank you. Taylor Smith is with Kids Around the World, and he joined Kids Around the World 2 years ago after returning from Africa, where he had been working for 4 years in Zambia. And while he was in Zambia, he was responsible for 850 children in his full-time care and overseeing the education of 16,000 children throughout Lusaka, Zambia. He saw the importance of nutrition in playgrounds in for the need for children to have nutritious meals as well as playgrounds. You're going to find out about Kids Around the World. They're not only strictly focused on playgrounds, but also on nutrition and feeding families and children. In his role, he has the privilege of helping generous individuals and organizations mobilize their resources for kids in 86 countries. Kids Around the World has been around as of yesterday for 25 years, and 856 playgrounds built?
870.
870 playgrounds built around the world. Welcome, Taylor.
If I don't hold a microphone, I'll gesture wildly, and so this is to reel me in. Good morning, everyone. Mulishani to any of our Shona friends from Zimbabwe, Mulibwanji, where I'm from, in Zambia, and howdy y'all from Texas. So thank you for sending a delegation from my home state. I'm from Dallas, Texas, born and raised. Proof that everything really is bigger in Texas. So Thank you very much for having me. I do want to take just a quick moment. It seems like one of the features of this morning is to brag on Cheryl. We had a saying when I was in Zambia that we had those folks who just got it, and we called them crazy orphan people. And Cheryl's a crazy orphan people, and so we really appreciate her. She's the kind of person we can mobilize and send out into the world to make amazing impact. And so, Cheryl, thank you very much. Cheryl shared a little bit about myself. My wife and I moved to Zambia, Africa in April of 2012 with our then 6-month-old Lily. We didn't even know what we were there to do. We were a part of an organization called Family Legacy. And we arrived ready to serve. And over the course of that first year, we saw that it was very clear that it was time for us to move into a logistics and operations type role. In that first year, we saw growth in our organization go from 150 kids in our full-time care to, again, by the end of our time 4 years later, at 850 children. We went from having no schools to having 24 educational facilities that were seeing the education of 15,000 additional children throughout the city. These were in the slum neighborhoods. And so this is the kind of place where when you go in looking for the largest facility to purchase, 9 times out of 10 it was a bar and brothel. So it was amazing to go in and purchase these places of darkness in the communities. Fresh paint, hope, joy, they became lights in the community. And it was there in Zambia that I saw the power of letting kids be what they were designed to be. Kids who wanted to play and explore and experience. And so that's when I met kids around the world. During my time there, we were able to build 8 playgrounds in Zambia, and it was transformative in the hearts of the kids there. So I tell you all that about the organization I was a part of, not in any way to brag, to say, look how amazing this organization is, or things like that, but really just to kind of set the table for what we're going to speak about this morning. And I'm going to really work hard to honor you all's time this morning and save a bit of time at the end for questions. But there are a lot of issues in the world today. There are issues here at home, and there are issues abroad. Zambia, for instance, the country where I lived for 4 years, my heart will forever be there. It's a place about the size of the state of Texas, so it's enormous, right? But it's about the size of the state of Texas. There are 16 million people there, and there are 1.5 million orphans in that country. The median age of the country is 16 years old. And at the time that I was there, which it's gone up slightly, but when I was there, the life expectancy was 42 years. So it's a place that was devoid of hope. It's a place where children had to grow up way too early. It's a place where children are tucking in younger children because perhaps mom is working 2 or 3 jobs, maybe dad is gone. And that's where the response of kids around the world was to say, how can we enable our partners who are in the field to bless children, to give them the opportunity to seek joy and happiness. Around the world, there's lots of issues. I mean, we have issues of female mutilation in the Middle East. We have trafficking, both here and abroad. We have forced labor. We have all these different issues. And that's the bad news. But the good news is that there are people like Cheryl, like the Rotary Club, like the partners that I get to work with in 86 countries who are out in the field making a change, making a difference. And so those are the groups that we are excited to be connected with. Cheryl mentioned Kids Around the World, works in 86 countries. We have built playgrounds, internationally speaking, as close as Tijuana, where the playgrounds service the Honduran migrant caravan that came through, all the way to 12 playgrounds in North Korea. We've had amazing access to places all over the world because when you come in under the banner of serving children, there's very few walls that get put up in front of you. I want to share the 2 ways primarily that we are helping people in the field care for kids. And the first is through nutrition. This is a little deal that we call One Meal. It's a program that we have. The concept behind this is that on just 1 meal a day, we're able to get a child out of even stage 4 malnutrition in 5 to 6 weeks. This is a nutrition bomb This is rice, lentils for protein. Each serving has 20 grams of protein and 24 vitamins and nutrients, all plant-based, all non-GMO, all the good stuff that you would want. And the staggering thing is that this packet has 6 servings, and it's $1.50 delivered to any country in the world. And that's a game changer. We're experiencing in Zambia and Zimbabwe as well, I assume, up to a 40% crop loss this year due to drought. And there are a lot of places. We do a number of projects in the refugee camps in northern Uganda where people are given a postage stamp of land. There's just no food. There's nothing for people to eat. What's fun about this meal is this is actually packed by people here in the States to send abroad. Now, I'm the first to tell you that this was not the initial plan for how people should be eating around the world. This is a response to a broken system and people who are in broken situations. We will do around 10 million meals this year, which is very exciting. And that's something that can be done at Cub Scout troops and baseball teams and things like that, assembly line style, setting up these meals. You know, when I was in Zambia, one of my roles was I did all the procurement, which is any gray hair that I have is from doing logistics in Africa. And what I found is not only could I not get the same amount of nutrition for the same price, but you couldn't count on many things. Even the staples there, the corn, the maize that they eat on a regular basis, and even the meat and things like that, you couldn't count on anything. What's exciting about this product that we're experiencing right now is it has a 3-year shelf life, but it never makes it that long because there's always a need. And so some of our partners are using it for outreach to meet families who are in crisis situations. I'm actually here in this area because on Sunday morning, I was a part of a group that we packed 200,000 meals for relief for the Bahamas. And those are already on the truck, going to the container to get on the water. So really staggering, really exciting things. The other thing is the thing that you probably did not expect to hear multiple times this morning is the word playgrounds. I have the most fun job in the world. I kind of shudder to think what my 3 children think that I do every day because I work from home. I talk about playgrounds all day. My kids are probably like, is this what like real work is like? You just get to travel to these places. You get to talk about playgrounds. But I really have the greatest job in the world. I've been a part of some amazing playground builds. Most recently, I built playground number 855 in the cloud forest in Ecuador. An amazing project where it was a special needs, handicap accessible playground at an organization there at around 6,000 feet. So that's almost even high for you guys. But the idea is that these ministries and these organizations that care for special needs people can pull them out of the backs of homes and out of seclusion and isolation and take them to a place that's all about them. And it's a really, really sweet thing. So for a number of years, again, Cheryl mentioned that yesterday was the 25th anniversary of our organization. For a number of years, up until about 2008, the way that we operated was to purchase new playgrounds and send them abroad. We started with actually a sister city project between Rockford, Illinois, where we're founded, and Bravia, Ukraine. That's a really fascinating story. There was a group of men and women who decided that a great sister city project would be to send a playground. A delegation of folks went, this was back in 1994, and they built a playground. Now what was fascinating about it, and they didn't realize it at the time, this was after the fall of the Soviet Union. And this was during a time where people had spent decades counting on the government to give them everything they needed, or everything they could give them that they needed. Now all of a sudden, a playground gets put in, and it becomes the center for community. It becomes where people begin to meet each other. They bring their children around. They figure out how they can help out. About 10 years after that initial project, again, a delegation of that same group went out and visited the project and said, you know, what are the quantifiable results? What's happened with this playground? And the mayor of the city looked at them and just straight-faced said, well, because of these playgrounds, we have the highest birth rate in the country. And everyone paused and said, what are you using these playgrounds for? But what they said was they realized that people thought that it was finally worth bringing a family into the world. Right? Sorry. I'll try to limit this as much as possible. But it was transformative. And they said now that little city, Bravia, Ukraine, had the most city parks of any city in the entire country. They had 77 city parks in this tiny little town because they saw the value. So that's how we were founded. Every year we did around between 5 and 10 playgrounds a year. If you don't know this, playgrounds are very, very, very expensive. My father is a K through 12 architect in Texas. The average playground set that you see at an elementary school is between $150,000 and $250,000. But the project itself is between $60 million and $100, so no one really notices that. But that is extremely restrictive for the rest of the world. It was restrictive for us as an organization. We were moving maybe one playground a year, which is transformative for the recipients. But then 2008 caused everyone to rethink everything, right? And the leadership of kids around the world were on their knees just asking, how on earth do we make this work? When it seemed there was no money moving around, yet there was as many, if not more, needs. And then all of a sudden there was this breakthrough where they wondered, what happens to playgrounds when they get torn down? So you may not realize this, but every year, thousands of playgrounds around America end up in landfills or melted down for about $500. What happens is, even though the factory lifespan of a playground is 25 plus years, the average amount of time that a playground is in the ground in America is between 8 and 10 years. There's two primary reasons for that. One is expansion of whatever the facility is. If they build it next to an elementary school and the elementary school expands, it has to change. The other is budgets. Budgets are typically in 10-year cycles. If you don't spend it, you don't get it again for another decade. And so, with that in mind, the leadership of kids around the world began to think, how can we leverage this resource? Not only how can we steward it well, but how can we let our partners in the field be the recipients of this benefit? So they began pulling playgrounds out of the ground. And in the span of about a 2-year period, they went from 10 playgrounds a year to 100 playgrounds a year. So that's why it's easy to say it's been 25 years and we're at 870. Well, we didn't start really clicking along until just a handful of years ago. So our goal was to have 1,000 playgrounds before we hit 25 years, and we missed it. But there's always more goals. There's always more things to do. So the way we do this is we pull them out of the ground, and then we refurbish them, we powder coat them. We have an amazing relationship with the actual original manufacturers of the playgrounds. They send us the original blueprints. They replace the nuts and the bolts. We're able to switch out and get a new slide if that one's not working. We have some organizations who they say, hey, because of the nature of the kids we have and their promiscuous activity, we can't have anything with tubes because that's places people can hide. And we say, no problem. So we can replace things and fix things. The neat thing is that they are completely supportive and excited about what we're doing because they can't do that. We're one of the very few people who have kind of cracked this method, and we have a scalability that we can do it. But it's a really neat relationship that we have with them, and we're able to see just amazing impact. I want to share just a couple of the projects specifically before I speak about the Lebanon project itself. We recently just had a playground that was the second playground that we had built in the largest refugee camp in Jordan. Last year, there was a playground installed, and it was very cold. Just the interaction was very much like a, what are you here to do? Are you here to mess with this camp? What is your purpose here? But they got the playground built, and it was an amazing project. The amazing thing was that 12 months later, they came to put another playground in. This time it was a handicap accessible playground. And for whatever reason, red carpet was rolled out, access to the entire camp. All that, the relationship changed radically. Because, again, that idea of they saw that there was no ulterior motive. There was nothing there except to bless the children that were there. We're seeing this in refugee crises all over the world. Whether it's on our border, whether it's in northern Uganda, if it's in Lebanon. There is refugee crisis all over the world. And what that is typically doing is that's causing kids, again, to have to grow up way too fast. And they're leaving their childhood where they fled. And so we have an amazing opportunity to be a part of that. The Lebanon Project is a truly amazing project. Lebanon's a fascinating place. It is a fascinating place geopolitically. It is one of the most welcoming countries in the Middle East. And almost half their population right now are refugees from other places. And so the orphanage that this playground is going to, it's an orphanage and school that services both Lebanese children and refugee children. And it's just going to be an amazing, amazing transformation for them. So what I want to do just quickly is, again, say a couple of thank yous. I've got only a couple more minutes, and I want to be able to open up if there's a couple of questions. And then also, if you don't have a specific question, I will be around afterwards, and I'd love to chat with you. But I want to take a moment and just thank you all, not only as an organization and now as friends, but I want to thank you as individuals. I want to thank you that as adults, you care for children. Heard talk of CASA, amazing organization. Around a lot of the world, children are just viewed as something that doesn't really bring value until it can work or care for its parents. There is something unique and beautiful about this great country that we live in, where we value that which brings no value to the table. And so I want to thank you all for investing in something that seems unnecessary in a playground, but is life transformative to children. So it's been my absolute pleasure to be here with you all this morning. I could not do what I do, which is doing the best job in the world, if it wasn't for supporters like you all. So I thank you very much, and I would love to answer any questions that you might have.
How do you find out where there is a playground that's going to be disassembled so that you can try and get it?
Terrific question. There's a bunch of different ways. We've fortunately been doing this long enough that we actually have to turn down playgrounds based on the financial feasibility of them, or whether they're something that would not be beneficial for our partners. We're very connected with the city parks districts in the Midwest, specifically Chicago, since our headquarters is there in Rockford, Illinois, and we regularly get calls. A very cool, quick story for you. I have a partner that does work in Zambia, just outside of Lusaka, where I lived, and they live in Frisco, Texas, northern suburb of Dallas. We connected with the city parks manager, and they said, hey, we have a playground, we're about to tear it out because of some renovation, would you like it? We said yes. It turns out that our partner, based in Frisco, Texas, his daughter grew up playing on this playground, and that's the one that we sent to his orphanage. And now there's 80 kids in the bush in Africa playing on the same playground his daughter played on. I don't think there's a better example of what's good enough for us is good enough for kids around the world. Yeah, good question.
So we have time for one more question, and then Taylor, you said you're going to stay after. So if you have questions, please come up. Any other questions right now? No? Okay.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you so much, Taylor.
Thank you all very much.
Before you go, we do have a few things. One thing that we do is that for all of our speakers, what we do is we have a book plate that goes into one of the elementary school libraries. This year it's going to be Field Elementary, so that every year when the child is reading the book, your name will be there as a representative of something that is so beautiful and genuine. So here's an example of what we do.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then we have one job for you. Where's our blue? No, okay, we have no job for you, so never mind. So you're off the hook. We have no blue marble today. But thank you so much. We appreciate everything that you do. So if you could all please stand for the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Was it fair for all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it build beneficial to all concerned?